Hi, Roshni.
Hi, Dean. Great to meet you.
Okay, thank you. Okay, you too. So, tell me what a fractional CMO is or does. And maybe before you tell me what a fractional CMO is or does, and in the first 90 days, um, tell me who you are.
Yeah, so I am the CEO of Prosh Marketing. We are a fractional CMO collective with fractional CMOs in Canada and US, servicing technology, professional services, and CPG. And so, a fractional CMO, in my opinion, is a marketing leader who's embedded in a company on a part time basis. So, just like the word fractional
Right.
says, you are a fractional resource that comes in, but you are not just a consultant. You are a part of the team, you are embedded in leadership, and you contribute not only strategy, but you help implement as well.
Okay, so imagine that,
And the first night,
let's take a hypothetical. Go ahead.
oh,
Yeah,
sorry,
I was
you
just going
wanted
to
to
say.
ask about the
So,
first 90 days as well.
yeah, so let's set that up a little better than I did, right? So let's imagine there's like a hypothetical 1 year engagement, and today's day one, brand new client, you've never worked with them before, or if you want to talk about like a fictional fractional CMO, they've never worked with them before. So like, what does the first 90 days look like when you're the fractional CMO starting off?
Yeah, so the first thing I like to do is meet with all of the key stakeholders, including the key people in leadership. This gives me a good idea of the company culture as well as the company's goals and projections. And so once you kind of know all of the players, you kind of get a feel for the culture as well. That's a really big part of integrating yourself into the team. The next part comes with a lot of internal and external analysis. So you're looking at things like your market, your competition, all of those external factors, as well as internal factors. So, what are the resources you have at play? Who are the people that you can leverage? What are the different strengths of the team? And so, understanding both the external and internal environment gives you a good foundation for that as well. And then finally, what I would say is getting to actually the meat and potatoes, talking to customers. And as a fractional CMO, it's so vital to talk to customers and get a perspective from them on what makes your company special. Why do people enjoy working with you? And really understanding from their perspective how things are working can set you up for success.
Okay, excellent. So Tanya, hi.
Hi,
Same
Dean.
question.
How are you?
Um, I'm good, thank you.
Okay.
Same question. Hypothetical 1 year scenario, right? And
Yeah.
today's day one. You're the new fractional CMO, right? Like most of the people in marketing in the company have never even heard of what a fractional. They had to Google it, right? They don't know what it is. So
Sure.
in the first 90 days, like what do you normally like to do, or what problems do you go looking for?
Mm.
Oh, and let people know who you are.
So,
I'm sorry.
yeah, okay, sure. I'm Tanya Van Soest, and I am the co-founder and managing director of the Articulate Collective, which is a
Mhm.
fractional brand and marketing collective. I have two fabulous co-founders, and together we work as a team to help specifically tech startups and scale ups get their foundation firmly in place so that they can confidently move forward and scale. But we're supported by a team of global part-time freelance marketing, communications, and brand specialists that we have all respectively worked with over the almost collective 100 years that the three of us, have been working in branding and marketing and communications. And the reason that we launched the Articulate Collective, which is a brand new initiative, it's only been up and running for the past 2 months, maybe not even, was to fill a gap for high growth companies looking for a more agile and scalable marketing solution that wouldn't cost them the earth, that wouldn't come with the risk often associated with hiring a CMO, and to really help these companies to bootstrap and get a little scrappy with accelerating their brand evolution.
Right.
So
Actually,
I agree with Roshni. I think that that's an excellent, best in class approach to a first 90-day fractional
mhm.
CMO role position and focus. But because our clients are often startups and scale ups, sometimes the entire engagement is 3 months, right? So we have to hit the ground running and be really, really prescriptive and highly prioritizing what are the key objectives. And so we don't always have the luxury of going in and taking the time to meet all of the stakeholders, speak with customers, get a proper lay of the land, which is absolutely best practice. And because these companies tend to be smaller, there aren't that many people to connect with and get to know. So it is a much more agile process to begin with. So what I can tell you what I do with our customers, and it's often not the first 90 days, it's often the first few conversations, and then we have a kickoff meeting and we're off to the races. We're identifying where they are in their journey. So typically a startup would follow a pretty linear trajectory in terms of their growth. So it's founder-led, product-led, sales-led, then you get VC money in the room, you get a board of directors, and then they look to scale and think that it's time to bring in marketing. And so we're also looking to disrupt this playbook a little bit by way of fractional marketing because it's more accessible, more affordable, and less risky. We're suggesting to clients in this phase of growth to bring the right kind of marketing in earlier, before you've got lots of stakeholders in the room telling you how you should sound, look, and feel. And the right kind of marketing is that foundational piece, right? Getting that brand strategy, that brand story, your messaging and positioning, even if it's going to iterate and change 100 times before you're ready to scale. Not all marketing is made equal, and not all marketing is relevant for each phase of growth. And so a lot of our conversations are, all right, how can we bring this in earlier? And how can we take a phased approach to making sure that you've got your foundations in place and you're ready to scale with confidence, and you're not going to be bullied around the room to and be pressured to listen to, numerous voices when it does come time to scale. And we can bring in a whole other toolbox of tactics to help you do that.
So let's imagine then that I'm the CEO at your client.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
And I've almost certainly had to convince somebody, even if it was just myself, to put aside and budget that spend to bring in a fractional CMO for a year, let's say, right?
Okay.
How am I going to squeeze maximum value out of the 12 months of CMO time that I have?
Well, already you're squeezing maximum value out of your CMO because you're hiring somebody who's fractional, right? So there's no BS, there's no politics. There's, we have probably a couple decades of experience behind us, right? I think one thing just to state for the record, a fractional CMO is somebody that is very senior, that has already worked in senior marketing leadership roles. It is not somebody who's, just out of school or who's at the, manager or director level. And we do see a lot of people hitching their wagon to the fractional trend. There is a bit of a zeitgeist going on right now, right? To be fair, everybody wants to have a piece of it. But, and not that there's any legal definition, but, to be fair, fractional was born out of a need to want to bring in senior expertise at a fraction of the cost, fraction of the time. So already you're making a very cost-effective decision by doing that. How do you then, beyond that, get the most out of them? I mean, you've got to have a very clear plan. If you're looking at a year trajectory, right? Roshni sounds like she's got more experience working in this capacity and in this way over this kind of duration. And she's absolutely right. Again, you've got to go in, get a lay of the land, get a plan in place, and make sure that you've got your milestones firmly in place. Of course, you can iterate and adjust accordingly as the business changes, regular touch points. And as a fractional CMO, I mean, our job is to stay focused on the low-hanging fruit, the heavy-hitting opportunities, and to make sure that we don't get distracted or our work is diluted by a lot of the superfluous or superficial elements that can often come in the way when you're in an organization full-time. Pressure's on, right? We've got to deliver. So I think it's that efficiency is kind of baked into the role.
So,
does that answer the
imagine
question?
that I'm the same CEO, right? Yes, I think so. So let me invert the question for you then. All right. How to come after they've they put aside and budgeted that spend. They went out and they found what they think is the right fractional CMO for them. How do they then proceed to waste that money? What do they do wrong? What should they stop doing
Yeah,
but they keep doing it, or what do they not do after the CMO starts?
it's a great question. I think the biggest thing that I've seen is not having a clear corporate strategy and looking to marketing to build your corporate strategy. So a lot of founders and a lot of growing companies look to marketing to build their corporate strategy, but marketing strategy should feed into your corporate or business strategy. And so if you don't have a clear business plan, business goals, it's hard for marketing to support that. And so that's the biggest way that you can waste their time. Right. Another thing is a lot of meetings with very little work. So I find that fractional CMO engagements that are focused really on meetings without allowing, time to actually go away and do the work also wastes a lot of time because there's a lot of talking and discussion without a lot of action and output. And especially when you're trying to be efficient, using a fractional CMO model, efficiency is important. So you need to also have them doing work, building processes, building your team, and all the strategy involved as well. So ultimately, I think it's like having a clear direction and focus is so important for startups. And it doesn't mean that things don't change, because as we know, things are always changing. The markets are changing, customers, competition, etc. But it means that the company has to have a clear focus in where they're going, what they want to achieve. And that's how marketing can best support. And that's how a fractional CMO at a strategic level can best support them as well. I also find that if you don't have any implementation resources and you're only looking to heavy up on your strategy, that can also be a challenge as well. So we've worked with a lot of companies that are growing and maybe have a limited budget, so they spend all of their money on strategy. Now, we would never advise that because then you have no one implementing anything, so there's no results. So ultimately, what we're looking for is a partnership between maybe a fractional marketing director even, or an agency that could come in and do some ground level stuff, or maybe even an intern who can come in to do day-to-day. But some level of implementation assistance needs to be in place for us to be able to execute and make the strategy worthwhile.
I think
Okay.
I would.
So let's talk about
I love
the
that
intern.
answer, by the way. Oh, sorry. Can I respond just for a sec? Excuse me. Yeah. So just to build on that, I think there is many different versions and varieties of fractional CMOs as there are businesses. And in my experience, I've worked with several companies that have actually called upon our input, our expertise to help them with their company vision, mission, and strategy, and be in the room and weigh in on how do we think the target audience is going to respond. Helping to develop a total addressable market, being the intermediary, maybe working with a third-party vendor to put that in place. And I actually really love being in the room and being part of that strategic conversation. And I think that's often more the case and the opportunity with startups. They're trying to get the most out of every resource and every brain in the room. And so oftentimes you do find yourself, I'd like to think of it as an opportunity to wear a different hat and grow that muscle a little bit. Having said that, I would agree that ideally it's nicer to come into the room as a marketing professional with that strategy more or less firmly in place and fully baked so that we can get to work doing what we do best.
Yeah, and I think like what I'm differing is I think we differ on business and marketing strategy. What you're talking about is still marketing strategy, in my opinion. So
Okay.
I would still want to weigh in on all of the marketing section, which is customers, market, and that kind of stuff. But business strategy is looking at more of your business objectives, what markets you're playing in, more so of the overall business plan, as opposed to getting into the marketing details.
Yeah, I think maybe the space that I've worked in has been a hybrid of those two elements. And again, I think in bigger enterprise organizations, it's a little bit more siloed and differentiated, whereas in a scrappy startup, it all sort of seems to blend together in my experience.
So, Roshni, I'm still the CEO of this company, and now I'm looking at you mentioned an intern, right? So let's talk about the intern, the junior staffers, the middle staffers in marketing, assuming there are any company, right? Sometimes they're quite small and
Mhm.
haven't hired in yet. But there's a marketing department, let's say, right? I've brought in this fractional CMO for the next 12 months. How should I expect that team to be different and ideally better at the end of the 12 months when that fractional CMO has been around, the day before that fractional CMO shows up?
Yeah, so I think after working with a fractional CMO, marketing teams get transformed in a variety of different ways. One way is from a pure knowledge
Mm-hmm.
perspective. Most of these interns or junior marketers don't really know how to do strategy. So by watching a fractional CMO, seeing what they do, for example, talking to customers, looking at value propositions, just absorbing some of the work that they do, they can also just learn a little bit of why they're doing the things they're doing. So they have a little bit more purpose and direction. And they've also now learned a little bit about how to work on strategy, how to connect their tactics to strategy. We also find that they're a little bit more proficient in their tools. So fractional CMOs have probably used the tools and processes that they've done before, so can provide best practices, tips, case studies, all of those things. Another great part about a fractional CMO is usually they work with a number of different clients. So they have resources that they can
Right.
bring in, or maybe even partners they can bring in. So they could share for co-marketing purposes or bundling products or services. So it's more opportunities for that marketing team to market themselves as well. And then finally, it's personal growth. So having a senior level marketer at a team can really help that personal growth for all of the junior marketers in terms of career progression,
Right.
in terms of learning, and all of that stuff.
And Tanya, what do you think? How's my team to be different or better with after the money that I've spent on this fractional CMO?
Yeah. Yeah. Well, hopefully they're not left hanging high and dry, and there's some plan to either bring in permanent leadership or to,
Right.
yeah, keep some kind of marketing leadership in place. But let's say, for example, companies maybe had some issues and they've got to cut some costs, and there's no longer marketing leadership in place. I think leaving a team with the ability to carry on, to have the processes, the templates, and the understanding, the knowledge of how to continue to scale and move the business forward without missing too many beats is essential. So, for example, if you've got a global team, making sure that everybody understands, where do core assets lie? How do you build upon those core assets? What are the templates that are available that can be used for initiative A, B, or C? Who can they pull in for additional support, whether that's internal or external? Give them the tools to be able to carry on with or without you. I mean, I think the goal is to enable a team to become increasingly autonomous and streamlined in your presence or in your absence.
All right. And then so let's talk about the most junior person on that team. Okay. So imagine that I'm the 23-year-old recent college grad, let's say. This is my first full-time job, really, real quote unquote real job, right? And it's in the marketing team of this company. That's your client, right? And so if I'm that junior person and I've gone ahead, like I said, and Googled and found out what a fractional CMO is, and there's going to be one sort of around, not every day, around, like what can I do or what should I do or not, right, in order to get, and I'm not trying to sound mercenary here, but to take full advantage of the opportunity of having someone that senior around when that level of seniority has not existed, in the 3 months that I've already been at this company. Tanya, what's the advice to the young
Well,
Tanya just starting out today?
I mean, I think the you have to manage expectations as a
Mm-hmm.
fractional CMO regarding your bandwidth and availability. And again, every situation is different. But we have to be really, guardrailed around the hours that we spend. I think it depends on the objectives and on the ecosystem of the company that you're coming into. If you know that you're going to be there for a set period of time, you're there to set up the team for future success. You're looking at bringing on a permanent CMO eventually and helping to enable and train them, and make sure that you're handing over a team that, again, has become more autonomous and mature and capable of working together better. Having some office hours, having some time where you can be available to the global marketing team, however junior or senior, opening the door for that opportunity to come in and safe space, ask all the questions you want, have an open dialogue, have a more structured weekly meeting if it's possible and within the scope of work. But at the end of the day, if you've got a larger organization, you're not going to have time to speak to all levels of hierarchy on a regular basis. And so I think the job of the fractional CMO is to make sure that they are working closely with their first level line managers and making sure that they are being trained and enabled to coach and mentor their more junior team members. But I would say, whatever the case may be, however much bandwidth, however big or small the scope of work is, however big or small the team is, giving everybody some access to you, whether that is through office hours or in a regular communication, written communication, video communication, making sure that they understand what you're doing there, what your objectives are, why you're asking the global team to do things, celebrating successes, making sure that the milestones are clearly defined. All of that open, transparent communication, however small it is essential. Sorry, I thought I silenced my notifications.
You're fine. And Roshni, what do you think? I'm the junior person, right? And there's essentially a part-time recurring fractional CMO for the next 12 months, but a day a week or whatever. What or how do I sort of, take advantage of that opportunity as far as looking long term at my own career?
Yeah, I think using the fractional CMO for not only technical information, but also personal growth information can be really helpful. And so looking at, where do you want to be in the next 12 months? Where do you want to be in the next 3 months even? And talking about that with your fractional CMO can also help them guide you in terms of career progression within your organization. Because ultimately, the fractional CMO is responsible for the whole marketing team and looking to grow people within there as well for the better of the company. Another great practice that I've seen is having really clear one-on-ones where you've got a structured agenda. You're looking at the things that you want to work on, as well as your functional tasks that you have to do. So not only do you go through the things that you have to do for your job and your responsibilities, but then also talk about things that you want to grow into. So areas that you're specifically passionate about or areas where you're interested in. Maybe even see if there's an opportunity to follow your fractional CMO around in different meetings to see how they handle cross-functional discussions and things like that. So taking advantage, shadowing, learning from them. There are many different ways to engage with the fractional CMO that can ultimately grow junior marketers really efficiently.
Okay, so we're winding down. I got a couple of questions left I want to get put from you guys. So Roshni, we'll go with you first. I'm just going to be blunt about this, okay? There are easier ways to make a living. So why this job? Why?
Yeah, so
Why do this?
I love the work of a fractional CMO because you can just jump into a business and start adding value almost immediately. I think that in a normal CMO or marketing leadership role, sometimes there is a long learning curve and there is time to get into things. But with a fractional CMO, as Tanya mentioned earlier, but with a fractional CMO, we generally jump right in and get started right away. So ultimately, the ability to add value immediately is something that's super valuable. Also, I just love working with so many different clients. Realistically, in a regular work environment, I would work on one company and one business. But having the
Mm-hmm.
opportunity to work with so many different clients really adds that variety and also enables me to continue my learning and my growth as well, because I learn from every opportunity as well. And then finally, I think that being able to make an impact on growing businesses has been the main motivation that we at Prosh Marketing really go after, because we love to make an impact and make a difference. And it's something that we can just wrap our whole hands around as well.
And Tanya, what do you think? Why? Why do this?
Well, I mean, if there's an easier, I don't know that there's an easier way for me personally to make a
Oh,
living.
yeah.
I find marketing and communications very natural, and it comes to me easily. I wouldn't say the job is always easy, but I've been living and breathing marketing and communications for 23 years, and I can't imagine doing anything else, quite frankly. It's either this or nothing at all, I feel. Yeah, I live and breathe it. And since I started working as a fractional marketer, I jump out of bed. I, you know, like Roshni, love the diversity of clients and opportunity. One of the reasons, in addition to really feeling that there was a gap in the market for the startups and the scale ups out there with regard to marketing, I wanted to be able to bring the maximum value back to my customers. And there's no way that I'm exponentializing my growth by staying in one company for the
Right.
next 2 to 3 years. If I've, got 15 years left of working, maybe 20, I've got half a dozen customers then that I can get experience from
Mm-hmm.
and with. And that's not growing at scale. So I can have, 5 customers in a month, and my mind is just being blown on a daily basis by how much I'm learning and seeing what to do, what not to do. So not only am I exponentializing my growth, I'm therefore adding exponential value back into my customer base.
All right.
And last but not least, Dean, I am a storyteller at heart. I love to craft narrative, brand strategy. I love getting the story right. I love working with visual designers to help create an extension of that from a visual narrative perspective. And I love bringing a vision to life. There's nothing better than sitting down with a CEO who just brain dumps on you, and then leaves it up to you to take all of that great ideation and passion and put it into a marketing plan and see that come to life and see a business grow with that. I mean, that's magic for me. So I don't know, if you can find another way to make a better living doing all of that, let me know.
Oh, okay. So this is we've just started season 4. So this is actually just like I think the third episode of season 4, and the questions change a little bit in every season, and we're having fun with the last question in our set for season 4, and it's because I don't have to ask it. So Tanya, if you could ask anything around fractional CMOing of Roshni, like what question would you ask? And then Roshni is going to get to ask you one back. What do you normally ask another fractional CMO
Okay.
when you meet one?
Well, because it's still early days for our
Sure, yeah.
agency, I ask a lot of questions about prospecting
Mm-hmm.
and lead generation. Um, and we have tweaked our strategy and our approach quite a lot since we started out only a few months ago. But I guess from a practical perspective, that would probably be one of the questions:
How do you
is
find clients?
how do you approach prospecting, and yeah, how have you come across any hacks, for example, like getting into the VC network and casting a wider web,
Right.
or anything like that?
Yeah, our biggest growth methods are really tied around partnerships. So we partner with a number of different organizations who have similar customer bases, from VC networks to incubators to and accelerators to other fractional shops. And so most of our business comes through referrals, and we really focus on those to grow.
Amazing. Makes
Yeah.
sense. We've discovered something
Yeah.
very similar.
And Roshni, what's your question?
My question for you is, what are the different use cases that you find really special when you're doing fractional CMO work?
Well, I guess one of the predominant use cases that we keep seeing are these startups and scale ups who have never really thought that they could afford to bring in marketing earlier into their growth journey. And honestly, didn't even really understand the difference between the type of marketing that you would need to deploy then versus when you're ready to scale versus further down the road. Um, and so I love the partnership environment and engagement that we have with our customers, teaching them about marketing, helping them to understand how we can not only as a fractional leader help their business get going in the right direction and prepare to scale, but also bring in a fraction of the marketing pie. I mean, I've been working in this industry for a couple decades and I'm still learning about marketing. So I can't ever expect the CEO of a tech company to even begin to grasp what are the different tools that we can bring in and bring out along the way. And so what the use case that I love, that I keep hoping that I can, repeat over time is exactly that, is coming in and, taking the hand of a new founder, of a CEO, and working with them to help grow their understanding of how marketing can play a role, of how a leader in this space can help play a very important role much earlier in the game. And they don't need to wait until they've got product market fit, money in the room, board of directors saying go. There's a way to really scale and accelerate that growth much earlier in the game. So that's my favorite use case so far, and that's where I'm
Interesting.
doubling down.
So it's time to wrap up. Tanya, who should contact you these days, and how should they do it?
Yeah, our ideal customer profile are startups and scale ups within the tech space, even SMBs that are looking to launch a new line of business, who have maybe experienced a lot of quick growth. Maybe there's been an acquisition along the way, and they need to look at how they can integrate that product and that ecosystem into their own. There's a lot to be said and done around, taking a step back, reestablishing those brand foundations, and developing a cohesive new story. So tech, SaaS, but we're also very experienced cross industry. So the door's open, but for sure our love and our passion and our core specialization is within the tech space. North American based and European based work for us. My two co-founders are based in Spain and in
Mhm.
London, respectively. And all three of us worked internationally our entire lives. Two of us having worked and lived in Asia for over a decade. So our Rolodex is quite large. And that means that our collective of freelance specialists is also global. So right now, North America and Europe is working well for us from a time zone perspective. And we'll see what the future brings in terms of scaling out beyond that geographically in the future.
And Roshni, who should contact you these days, and how?
Yeah, we're looking to help startups and small businesses, really startups at Series A or beyond, and small businesses looking to scale
Mhm.
and grow with marketing leadership. We're looking for customers across Canada, US, and Europe. We've got fractional CMOs in all of those different areas. And again, our main areas are technology, professional services, and CPG. Within tech, we've serviced health tech, fintech, prop tech, AI, SaaS, all of the tech pretty much. Within professional services, we've got healthcare, we've got legal services, accountants, and then CPG, food, apparel, appliances, etc. So anyone in those verticals looking for experienced marketing professionals with a great network of implementation resources as well can reach out.
All right. Well, thank both of you. It was and now it's the time to lose my voice, right? Thanks for being here, Roshni, and thanks, Tanya. And thanks for watching this. You're probably watching it on a clip if our analytics tell us anything at all. So hopefully you enjoyed the clip that you saw, and we'll see everyone next time.